What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Central, and today I'm going to recap Game 70 of the regular season where the Knicks beat the Brooklyn Nets 105-93, and definitely a shaky performance throughout the first half in particular, but once that second half kicked in, especially the fourth quarter, the Knicks made it not even close, and they took care of business at the end of the day. That's what's most important. Like I said in my last recap video, I'm at the point where just scrape out the wins against the teams that you need to. You play teams like Brooklyn, Detroit, and all these teams that are bottom of the barrel. You got to take advantage of that, and you got to beat them. And now they sit like one game back, I think it is, of the third seed. So the Knicks put themselves in a good spot with this win, and you had to beat the Nets. You just simply had to. There was some ugliness in there, but at the end of the day, you had guys step up, especially Dante DiVincenzo, and then Deuce McBride as well. And then even Josh Hart, who really aggravated me in the first half of the game, he turned it up in the second half and turned in a pretty good game, honestly, with the way that he ended this one off. But before I jump further into the recap here, leave a like if you do enjoy it. Subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're Knicks fans, and turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live next. But with the first quarter, they had good ball movement pretty much the entire way. Like early on, especially, Brunson looked good. He was hitting his shots, and they were doing so good on the offensive glass, especially, which led to some second points. Granted, there were turnovers that the Knicks had because the refs were just atrocious early on. Hart, there was clearly a goaltending foul that should have been called, and they didn't call it. So Hart's not happy about that. And then they just, in transition, they were getting caught there because Johnson and Bridges were just hitting threes because the Knicks were turning the ball over too much from these turnovers with fouls not being called. And then once Hartenstein left the game towards the end of the quarter and Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims came in, the two of them were getting bullied like crazy in the paint. And the only guy that really stayed consistent throughout that entire first quarter was Deuce McBride. And that's a story for pretty much the whole game. But that was how I felt after the first quarter. Then the second quarter, more ugliness. The bench made me want to throw up in that second quarter. The way that they were just chucking up shots nonstop and not even attempting to move the ball at all. There was no creativity with the offense. It was just, yeah, let's just chuck up shots and see if they go in. Bojan Bogdanovic was just getting killed on there on both sides of the ball. And then, what do you know, I-HART comes back in the game, and he's getting some offensive boards again. All of a sudden, Burks hits a three, and the ball movement starts to look a lot better as he comes in. And then Sims had to come back in later on in the quarter. He actually did a pretty good job the rest of the game. It was really the first time he checked into the game that he annoyed me. He had some okay plays where he was doing some nice work along the glass there. Couldn't get a damn bucket if his life depended on it, but he was doing pretty good along the glass. And DIVO, towards the end of the quarter, he had a very solid end, but of course, Bridges hit a freaking half-court shot to end the quarter, which was just ridiculous. But they lost that quarter without I-HART, and they were only hitting their shots beyond the arc. They had to get better in terms of their offensive play in other parts of the court, and they did that in the third quarter where they started to actually drive to the rack. Dante DiVincenzo looking very good with the way that he was driving to the rack. That was more so the fourth quarter, but they were getting a lot of second chance points, which was really nice to see. Hartenstein had such a good game yet again, and he is making this conversation very difficult for what they should do beyond this season between him and Mitch, when Hartenstein, of course, ends up being a pending UFA at the end of the year. Not going to be an easy decision there. But regardless, the Nets just kept hitting threes. Like, that was the thing that was a problem all game. The Nets were hitting everything beyond the arc. And then they started to wake up again towards the end of the quarter when things were looking shaky, as it was kind of back and forth, a little stale too, the third quarter in terms of the offense in general for both teams. But Hart started to have a big game there along the boards. He started to wake up. Brunson and Deuce hitting their shots towards the end. And, of course, another buzzer beater there, though, at the end of the quarter. That time, it was by, forgot who it was by, actually. It was Cam Thomas. It was Cam Thomas. I don't know why I forgot for a second, but Then we get to the fourth quarter, and the Knicks didn't even let this continue to be a basketball game. Donte DiVincenzo went out of his mind. He was hitting threes left and right, driving to the rack, which is something that I want DIVO to continue to do. When he's at his best, he's not just chucking threes, and he's not just hitting threes. He's also driving and getting in the paint and making a big impact there, and that's what he did in this game, and that's why he went 50% from the field. He went 30% from downtown. He had 31 points in this game for a reason. He was so good throughout the entirety of the game, but that fourth quarter in particular, he just had such a good effort, and the defense was nails too. DiVincenzo stealing the ball away too on defense. He looked so good, and then I-HART too, just making big blocks, just forcing turnovers nonstop. He was so good, and the transition game was looking so good with that good defense that they did have. They were turning it to offense. The Nets went 8 minutes without even making anything from the field. They only were able to draw fouls pretty much in that fourth quarter, and that was pretty much their only points. And the bench was so bad though for the Knicks that DIVO and Hart played the entire second half, and Deuce McBride played the entire game. I'm fine with it because they got the win, but it's annoying that Bojan Bogdanovic is that bad that Tibbs does not even trust him to step on the damn court anymore. And it's really sad because I was excited for this trade, and that was the first video too on this freaking channel, and this trade has just looked so bad. I hate to continue to beat a dead horse in terms of talking about this every single post game, but it's just infuriating that this starting rotation is getting run into the damn ground because you have guys like Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic who are not doing their roles. I tweeted out even that Bojan's like pissing me off to the point where I don't care if he's out of the freaking rotation as a whole. And when this team is healthy, he should be. He's supposed to come off the bench, and he's supposed to get buckets. That's his one job. We're not expecting him to play great defense. We know he doesn't play great defense. We're not expecting him to move the ball well and create space on the floor, which he should be doing that at the very least if he's not going to get buckets. But he's not even hitting the buckets, and he's not the scoring spark plug we thought we were getting so far. Could that change? Sure, but it's just not been good. And then Alec Burks too. Just like he had a good game against the Denver Nuggets, but come on, he just hasn't been good. Precious Achiuwa didn't get a lot of minutes, and he's starting, the honeymoon phase is starting to end with him, it feels like, with Tibbs, where Precious is starting to get less minutes, and rightfully so, to be honest. He was getting bullied when he was out there in this game, and I don't mind the fact that he didn't get a lot of minutes, but a lot of that also had to do with the fact that Hart really, really stepped it up. Like, as much as I'm crapping on the bench and getting on how bad they played, the starting five played so good throughout the entirety of this basketball game. The only guy you could argue was shaky was Jalen Brunson, to be honest with you, and Hart, obviously, because in the first half, he really wasn't good. But Hart really stepped it up. Brunson, he was kind of the opposite. He had a very good first quarter, kind of disappeared in that second quarter, though. Third quarter showed up towards the end. Fourth quarter was not even really noticeable at all. And they took him off the floor towards the end, too, to just try and shut things down. But I expect better from Brunson. We know he's going to be better. He was efficient from downtown, but from the field, I mean, 7 for 24, and he didn't even get to the line once in this game as well. So that's just not his game, and that's just why you saw him not put up a lot of points today. And again, he'll be fine. He'll be better. He did still look good in terms of spacing the floor out and moving the ball well, and he did set the tempo at times when it felt like the Knicks were starting to lose their tempo at points of the game and they were trying to rush things. He settled that down a bit for them, but I'm just saying in terms of overall, like, he put up the same amount of points as Isaiah Hartenstein, and that's not a knock to what Hartenstein did, because Hartenstein was really good in this game. It's just more, we're accustomed to Jalen Brunson being better. He will, but Hartenstein was so good. It's hard to argue he's the player of the game because DiVincenzo was good, and then Deuce McBride, another big performance from him, putting up 26 points. And then Hartenstein, like I said, 17 points. And when he was out of the game, it was very noticeable. The Knicks getting bullied in the damn paint and the Knicks looking brutal. Their points in the paint, they had 48 of them. A lot of that had to come in the second half because they were not doing that felt like in the first half at all. They were getting all the second chance points. They dominated the offensive glass. They really did. And the only thing you could really be annoyed about is that they didn't even get to the line a lot, but neither did Brooklyn, so the refs just kind of called a loose game there, you could say. But Yeah, I'm happy with the fact that they got the win. I'm happy with the effort in this one. And now you gotta take care of business against a terrible, 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 terrible Detroit team on Monday. And then they play a terrible, 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 terrible Raptors team. I should have added more terribles to the Pistons because the Raptors aren't Pistons bad, but still. And then they play the Spurs. You gotta beat these teams, and that's really the main goal. I'm at the point where I don't care how it's done. Just win these next 3 games and get healthy come playoff time. If they could take care of business these next 3, they're putting themselves in the driver's seat to finish off the season strong and be above the play-in line. And that's really all that matters to me. Just don't be a play-in team. And it starts with taking care of business against teams like that. And the Magic don't have an easy schedule, so you should be in the driver's seat here, but we will see. That's really all I got for you guys, though. Don't forget to leave a like if you haven't already. Don't forget to subscribe, too, if you haven't. Turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live next. I'll see you guys in the next one.